also helps me with the books. We'll talk about that later. Let's see, I have a lot of other family members who help me too, so it's a family thing. I'm going to talk about all 6 books, not just one book. Why not? And I brought some in the back. You can look at them afterwards. And then I have a piece of paper that you can take with you where to buy them when you feel the need, because we have to keep our local stores going. So keep a list. And it varies. I mean, you could buy the A to Z book in the bookstore, or you could also buy it at the Flying Goose Pub. So I try to be everywhere. Now we're going to go back to the cover of the book, back one. Oh, no, having on the beach. The first one on the beach, yeah. So this could be in New Hampshire, right? We have beaches, but it's not. Look how covered up I am. My arms are all covered up. I'm actually in a beach in the Galapagos Islands at the equator. So I was all covered up, and I did end up having sunburn on my feet. But I like this picture because it shows me with my sketchbook, my watercolors, my brushes, and throwing in my happy place. All right, next. We lost track of our remote, so I'll just go. Yes. Okay. Uh-oh. All right. So, first book is my biggest book. It's called Colorful Journey. I guess maybe I'll start with my colorful journey. I was born in New Hampshire, lived here till I was 6, grew up mostly in Massachusetts, went to UNH as an art major, got married to this person. We went lots of other good places for 40 years. I was an artist the whole time. He retired, and we moved back. And I hadn't been here so long, I didn't have any family anymore, so that's why I didn't come back for so long. But I just felt the need to explore. And so I just started driving around, bringing my sketch pad and generally having no plan at all, except not to get too lost, or to get home before dusk. So I just started drawing the towns, and then I thought, well, how many are there? Maybe I should draw them all. 234. It's a small state, lots of towns. I got lost a lot. We bought an atlas, and then it got even worse because we were on unmaintained roads and all sorts of things.
And then you have confusing places like Elkins. That's not a town. That's a village. And we found some places in the state where people in the village are much prouder of themselves than the town. And they won't even admit to being a pro.
I lost my train of thought. I was a printmaker. I studied, had to take printmaking. It was a required course in Durham, and I loved it, and I kind of went that path. Instead of a painter path, I went the printmaker path. I bought a very large press. I made very large etchings for years, decades. And I always liked the idea of, I liked making them because I liked working with the materials. I liked the zinc plate and the nitric acid and the liquid wax and all that stuff, and the ink. The other part that I loved was the fact that it's a multiple, as we say in the art world. There's lots of them. Once you make the plate, you can just keep cranking them. So that means lots of people can have them. I always liked that idea, that my whatever was seemed important to me, lots of people could own it. So if you keep that in mind, that's really how I got to books. I like multiples. Books are multiples. So anyway, let's talk about this picture. I tried to find something of the essence in every town. I didn't have any other town that had sap buckets, so I thought, why not? I sat in my car. I drew on site, it was cold, so that's why I was in the car. I kind of drew, I moved the car up a little, back a little, up a little, to get the view. I should use my cap. The view of all the buckets, you can't really see them from one place. So my artwork may look fairly realistic, but I change a lot of things. Even if I'm working from a photograph, I'll move things around to make a better composition, make something look more theatrical. I'll talk about that in the last book. Those are, oh, my daughter, I should say this. This is meant to talk about my other family members. Our oldest daughter, who lives in Los Angeles, she's a graphic designer and an actress. She was in charge of telling me all sorts of things like how many words to have here, and what font should we use, and how big should it be. So I should say this, it took me 2 years to draw them and 2 more years to get it into a book. So she was the one who told me no more than 100 words and no fewer than 75. Which is, it's like a mental puzzle every day for every place, because some places you really don't have a lot to say about. Other places like New London, it's kind of hard to get it down to 100 words. Yeah, so it took me 2 years to do the drawings. I just talked about it to everybody, basically. And everybody thought it was a great idea, and I couldn't really go anywhere in town without someone saying, "What town are you in now?" I mean, I would go to the dump and people would shout out, "What number?" Community support, that was. Right, next. So most of the time, I didn't have any idea what I was going to do when I got there. And sometimes I did. I chose this spot in Alton Bay because my husband's aunt and uncle used to own that building. So part of the process of my art is, or anybody's art really, is what parts do you like best? What parts are you going to emphasize? What parts are you going to ignore or minimize? So while I was drawing this happened to be motorcycle week. Constant stream of motorcyclists going past me, which I chose to ignore. So that is that well-known community restaurant. It hasn't changed in a long time. Okay. When I point at you, that means next. Okay. Another place that I had an idea of what I wanted to do when I got there, even though I had never been there before. Robert Frost lived in a lot of places. The cover of the colorful journey book is the view from his house in Franconia. This is his house in Derry. He lived there quite a few years with lots of children, and lots of little children at that time. He used to write his poetry on the kitchen table after they all went to bed, between the fire stove and the table. The people who work there love Robert Frost, and they can just start reciting it. So when I got there, I wandered around, and it takes me a while to decide what angle I want. So I like this angle. I moved the tree a little. I moved these stairs. Those stairs are really over there. So I moved them over. And I set to work. I was standing up. Usually often I draw standing up. I don't draw an easel, and that's why I can't do plein air art. I don't really stand any place very long. So next one, I think you'll be a little surprised when you see the next image. Because this guy's name is Paul Falco. He is a photographer, videographer from New Hampshire Chronicle. There we go. New Hampshire Chronicle. And during my travels, we were way up north and we happened to find out that Fritz Weatherby was staying in the same hotel as us. We thought, really? I didn't see him, but I handed him my card and he handed it to the producer of New Hampshire Chronicle, and then she phoned me and said, "Do you want to be on TV?" And I said, "Sure." And she asked me where I thought would be a good place for Paul to come photograph me. So I said, well, I want to go to Derry. I know I want to go to the house in Derry. And so I'd already been to our house the week before, filming in the dining room. And here we are. I want to show you what's the hardest part here. It's not this guy whose camera is right there. It's that piece of paper that I'm drawing on, because I'm in under the tree, and part of the paper is in the shadow and some part of it's in the sun, and it's kind of flickering light. It's really hard for your brain to do. It's like, I don't want to say, it's hard for your brain to kind of adjust to that amount of light. So this is the last town, 234. This was the day and this is another one I knew I wanted to draw, this old mill. Got to be such a big event in the family that Bruce's cousin came, and our daughter flew up from Maryland. So anyway, this is a very old mill. It's a woolen mill, I believe, textiles. And by the time I got to this town, after two years, I was so aware of the history of New Hampshire and mills, textile mills, all on fast-moving streams. Maine is right here. There's a bridge. People walked over. The workers who lived in Maine. I think they walked home for lunch and then they came back. So right now it is artist studios. So that's the story of New Hampshire too. And all these mills went out of business. They were in business from about 1830 to 1930. And then they were empty. Some are still empty, but most of them are not. Most of them are repurposed.
Town libraries in there too.
What? Yes, the lot. This is full of artist studios and the town library of Rollinsford. So Rollinsford, this is the Salmon Falls River, that goes down into the Scottsdale. So it's just a little bit above Rochester. So I told you the last book took me 4 years total. 2 years to do the drawings, 2 more years to meet somebody who said, sure, I know who would like to publish that. This one took me 6 months, because now I knew who the publisher would be, and I knew who the printer would be. That was also another tricky decision. And for this one, all I did was just write down everything I say all the time anyway, like in workshops and classes. So you have to do a lot of research, or I didn't even get in the car. I used drawings that I had done from all over the world. And so it is motivational in nature. There's not one page of how to really, except at the back, which basically says, use any writing implement and any piece of paper. So this is motivational for people. I'm not saying everybody would or should enjoy being an artist, for people who have an itch, or they've been trained and they make themselves unhappy because they're not doing it. This is why I wrote this. I I don't like to waste anything. I'm a builder, so, you know, I could use drawings that of varying ages. This drawing I did in Dijon, France. I think it's 2014. Anyway, I like carousels. I have to draw any carousel or every carousel. It's so cute, and carousels all look basically the same, except this one is all about Le Petit Prince. You know that French book? There's an airplane there. So they're all they're unique. This is a typical page. I have another page which says, give up napping. Get stubborn, get self-important, get brave. So it's just my advice. I'm not a person who gives people a lot of advice like where you should eat or you know, which house you should buy. But when it comes to art, yeah, I'll give you advice. Another thing that I put in the book, so this is another fun thing that I do besides draw architecture, landscape, I draw people sometimes. This is our grandson, who is now 14 years old. At the time he was 2. We hadn't seen each other in a little while. We were feeling shy. He was playing peekaboo with his fingers. I was playing peekaboo behind a bouquet of flowers. I have taught myself to work really quickly with pencil, and then put it aside until I have more time. Then I can work on it and make the shapes a little stronger, put in the color. I'm very good at remembering color, but the way I think most color doesn't matter much. Has it? So who knows what color those flowers really were? He was probably wearing a blue shirt. But anyway, I find it very sweet. If you look at my grandson, who's now 14, he was 2 at the time. 12 years ago. Yeah. Let's see, another fun thing I do is just compress space. So if you've ever been to Bennington, you know that this monument is really a lot farther away than that and a lot smaller. I make things as big as I want to make them and pull them in and fit them in. So, and I like to see all these repetitions of shapes and quirky things like that funny looking clock. It's all mosaics. I like brick. I like yellow brick. I mean, this has everything that interests me.
It's artistic license.
Yes. And look at the cars. I can't actually draw a car accurately, but I just usually don't pick one. It's more fun, right? It's a car. What else could it be? Okay. All right. Now we're in England, a little bit west of Cheltenham, where we live. We were back for a visit. This is almost in Wales. I'm trying to situate it for you. Like many artists, I try to find repetition of shapes. I mean, poets do this with sound. Musicians do it with sound and chords and so forth. Artists do it with shapes. Most artists do this, you know, so, you know, when you see the gravestones like that and you see the Roman, medieval, it's very old. Before Gothic, you know, Gothic got all pointy. This is round, so Romanesque maybe. Anyway, I grabbed my ink pen and drew in those rounded shapes. And finished it in the evening. But it brings it right back to me. They were doing changing, bell changing, I think it's called. You know, that kind of British tradition where they have these bells and they keep ringing them in a different order. Nobody is popping up to tell me what this word is. All right. Sorry. I'll think of it, and then I'll tell you 10 minutes from now. Okay. All righty, on to the next book. So instead of doing all of New Hampshire, I decided to do one of my favorites. There's the answer to that question. Portsmouth. I like this cover. My daughter had a lot of hand in the designing of this cover. She kept changing the shape of the blue. And you know, when we design covers, we're zooming. She lives in Los Angeles, so we're doing it sort of live. It's the most fun thing because I say something like a little bigger over there, or a little smaller, and change that color. It's so fun. So this is, you may know, the waterfront in Portsmouth as seen from Badger Island. This is, you know, the island in the middle of the river, and Maine is on the other side. I think Badger Island is in Maine. What do you think? Anyway,
We used to claim the Navy Yard, and they finally had to refer back 102 years to the Supreme Court decision that said, nope, it's in Maine.
well, well, there's a lot of books about Portsmouth, but those things don't stop me. You know, I have my own idea and view of what I can do, and it never occurs to me to ask anybody whether they think it's a good idea. It's just the way I am. I love this little weather vane, which is actually at eye level in front of the ferry landing restaurant. So I could draw it really well. And it is a gondola boat, which used to go up and down the Piscataqua River. Tidally, you could only go with the tides, I guess. And there's still one or two out there that you can ride, take a day trip on. Okay. Another one of my favorite things is street musicians. I don't play a musical instrument. I'm not particularly musical, but I like them because they just make everything seem happy. So I saw these people setting up. It wasn't time for them to begin, so I knew that this was going to happen. And then they kind of went away. You know, they got a few things set up like their amps, I guess. And then they went away. So I got front seat, actually I was standing, front row where people were waiting for them, you know, we were gonna hear them. So I positioned myself right in the front, and I drew the church door so that I was ready to sort of keep it in. This is right in Market Square. It's the church with the white steeple. At one time, that steeple was brown. The whole church was brown. If you look at historical photos, it kind of shocks you sometimes. Okay. This is Market Street. Market Street. I did this project 2017, and it took me one full year, intentionally. You know, I wanted to get all 4 seasons in here. And that was the time I was spending a lot of time in Western Canada. So, and also illustrating another book. So, as soon as I got back into town, I had to zip over. This was tricky to draw. I mean, I love windows, I love doors, I like storefronts, bricks, slate, all these things I love. The tricky part is Market Street is almost always full of cars. So you can't see this, so I would have to stand there, wait for a car to pull out. Quick, draw that. And then wait for another car to pull out. I think I did this 4 times, like 4 different tries.
Do you ever take a picture and then draw from the picture or paint from it?
At this time, I wasn't doing that, but I will tell you when I got to that, evolved to that. By the way, yes, any questions, just shout.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay, good. So, this restaurant is no longer there, I think. Might be something. Anyway, this one is still there. But, it doesn't matter, just, I'm recording 2017, so. So I love doors and windows. This is the door in Book and Bar. It's a very, very large door. Door and window, actually. It looks out onto a brick building and a stone building. So I thought that kind of summed up Portsmouth. The Portsmouth had so many bad fires in the early 1800s that they made a law that you had to rebuild in brick and slate and stone in the Market Square area. So that's why it all looks like that. If you go out a little farther out, a few more blocks, then you'll find the old wooden buildings, the ones that haven't burned down. I like this one.
How big?
I'm just not sure why.
Can I just ask, how big is your original sketch? Do you have a certain size pad that you like, or?
Pretty small, I'm gonna say. I brought one with me, 5x8 or not very big. Maybe terrible with numbers. 8x10. Yeah. I mean, I carry them and I stand there, so
Yeah, it won't be too big.
they can be too big. And I know they're gonna end up in a book, so I wouldn't want to draw huge, you know what I mean? I want it to be sort of the same size. Okay. This is on Pleasant Street, just around the corner from Market Square, where the tourist hero places and flag. This is so. I like birds. Another theme. I like birds. I like eagles. I like doors. I like windows. So how can I miss? The trouble is, this was hard to draw. I tried several times. At first, I was counting how many feathers, and that wasn't working. Let me try to read this up. That someone told me it's called a Bellamy eagle. With someone named Mr. Bellamy, who carved all these very, very oversized wooden eagles and put them above doors. And they're very worth a lot of money. And there's a lot of fakes out there. But it sort of illustrates that while I was standing around, I met a lot of people because people would talk to me, introduce themselves, or if I was looking up, they would look up. Oh, wait, one more thing, don't you? Wait, no, I said, change my mind. Back one. I'm gonna have to turn this. All right, see this doorway, looks like feathers to me. So that's really the whole point of sketching, is so you can see things more clearly. Take enough time. The time it takes to make a sketch or a painting, you notice more and more details. That's the enjoyable part for me. I'm gonna have to turn it, I can see it. You're gonna fit? Yeah, pretty good. Right, so remember the first one I showed you when I was sitting on the beach? Well, this is the beach I was sitting on. So someone suggested, they saw my sketch of the Galapagos, was there for 1 week. They suggested that I take the whole sketchbook, make it look like the reproduction of the sketchbook. Yeah. So I did. So every one of my books is like, it's got a little different slant, little twist. It's not like I've done the same thing 6 times. So anyway, this is the first day. We're on the beach. I just sat down. Those are sea lions. They are tired because they swim to catch their breakfast. And they're just exhausted and they don't care. that you're 4 feet away from them.
Your smell.
I didn't detect any smell. Fresh air, I don't know, I didn't notice, maybe because I was making art, I don't know. They had babies who were suckling on them. The baby's nursed for 2 years, that's the only source of nutrition. So I was close enough to hear all these slippy sounds. One of the best parts of the Galapagos is that the animals have no predators in most cases. So they're not afraid of each other, and they're not afraid of you. So they don't approach you, they don't run away. They just sort of welcome you into their environment. And they just look at you and blink and gladly fly away. And somehow it was just so touching. I just can't get used to coming back and, you take a walk in the woods here, which is very beautiful, but all the birds fly away and all of the deer and everything runs away because they're afraid of you. Turkeys. Anyway, so this is my next book. This took me about 6 months.
We didn't just bump into the sea lions on the beach. We found them sitting on park benches.
Oh, yeah, there. The first night we were there, the boat, we were on a National Geographic ship, 100 passengers. And it positioned itself right there. Of course, they know when the sun is going to go down and where to put the boat and make everyone happy, take a nice sunset picture. Being at the equator, there's no long summer evenings, it's the same all year round. The sun sets 6:30 and then it's dark.
When is this gonna be published?
That was published years ago. It's back there on the table. You want to. You want some.
Did I open it?
For your grandchildren?
I know, but I don't know where they are. Oh dear.
Oh dear, okay. You'll remember. It'll come back to you.
Thank you. Oh, the blue-footed boobies.
So they have
Just flip it
gray,
vertical.
gray-footed, that's called Nazca, booby. Mostly I saw those, and I saw a lot of red-footed ones, and not very many blue-footed ones. Because, I don't know, they were just in a different place, and I don't snorkel, so I think it was, when I say they can nest in trees, I really should have said scrubby little bush. There are no trees. The birds are right close to each other. They pay no attention to each other. They make their nest on the ground, which is like a circle of rocks. That's all they have there is rocks. And they have 1 or 2 babies that they take care of. And they don't care if you're here, if you're following the rules, stay on the path, and they're right there. They don't care.
It's amazing.
That is amazing.
I practiced drawing animals before I went. Now, if you noticed, I've got a lot of different kinds of subject matter and drawn animals for a while, so it was practicing. I was drawing people's dogs and stuff, so. Okay.
Another surprise to us, we lived in Maryland for many years, and a red crab there means it's been cooked. Here they have live red crabs. It was kind of creepy the first time we saw one of them move.
And they were moving. Oh, yes.
This was last year. I was working on 2 books at the same time, just for fun. I knew I wanted the library on the front cover because that building is so long. And I see it wraps around. And I put a really big lilac there, and Funny thing about this book is, which also took me, I don't know, a year, I guess. Another person in town named Donna had this all figured out, and she asked me, we met on the street in front of the barn, and she recognized who I was. She said, I have your book. Would you like to do an ABC book of London? I said, oh, sure, why not? And she pulled out a piece of paper and it had it all figured out. A is for this, B is for that. Wow, okay. Almost all of them I followed. Changed a few, but honestly, she was all thinking.
So she was looking for you?
She
with
was
this
looking
plan?
for me and we met on the street. That's
Oh, nice.
That's New London for you.
Have you stayed in touch? Is it?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
With Donna, you're
She's
never
in
out of
France.
touch with Donna.
ah,
She would be here if she wasn't giving music lessons at this moment. All right, so let's see here. I guess I told you that I spent a lot of time in New London in the summers. My grandmother and my aunt went here. Maybe I didn't tell you that. My aunt was a physician at the hospital. I always came to hospital days. And then when Bruce retired, we moved back to New London. Hadn't been here in a long time. Okay.
I'll tell one more story. Our last date before I went off into the Army after I graduated from college was to see The Sound of Music at the bar. She was working for her aunt that summer. 50 years later, The Sound of Music came back to the barn and we lived here.
Oh.
And we gave them $50 donation.
How cool is that?
Okay, so here is I know we usually call it a bandstand, but my friend Donna chose it as G for gazebo, so I went with that. It's really hard to draw. I've tried to draw it several times. I like this one, that's why I chose it. I think I finally succeeded. I'll probably never draw it again.
That's the community band.
Yes, it is,
Good for
and you
you.
know what? They don't fit on there anymore.
No, they
They've got more members and they overflow now. So
That's fine.
I decided to put animals in there for children, to keep them, to provide an interest for children. The text is written at an adult level, but I think everybody could enjoy it, walk around and find these buildings. So I have never written a book yet for children, but I think they all like them. That's what I've been told.
But we have had reports of grandparents taking kids around on scavenger hunts and trying to find where the artist was standing when she drew that picture.
Oh, how cool is
Nice.
that?
What a great idea.
how flattering.
Go. I for Ice House. You know, we have just unique things in this town, right?
To be celebrated.
Yeah, so, and
Oh, you put a car in that one.
the car has some kind of ski-like winter and just attachments to the front tires. So, and the reason I chose this drawing, which is a pretty old drawing, I think 2009, is the drawing that's over here is the ski joring one. The one has ski joring, J, the joring, and I believe in harmony of the two pages. There has to be some connection between these two things. So I had to choose this one with the car with the skis on it.
And what was Jay?
Ski joring. Do you remember ski joring?
No.
No. I'll show you in a picture.
Okay, thank you.
That was important to do this building. This is under T for town offices. There's a lot of people don't know what it is. It looks like a church. It has a bell tower. It was never a church. That tower was to call the students to the academy to their classes in 1837. there you go.
The tortoise.
Yes, and I always wonder, I chose these animals, I thought randomly, and then I look later on, I think, you know, those like black dogs.
T for tortoise too.
Well, yes, that was, yes. So, that tree is always early and it's always that color. Although it wasn't that color when I painted it.
It's okay.
It's okay. Okay, we're on to W. Whipple. Whipple Hall. Always love those windows. You know, you're an artist, you can put any, you can enhance any color you want. There's some incredibly ornate and mystifying sculpture on the front of this building. Like cow skulls with draped fabric over the horns. So I had to move back farther away because I wasn't about to draw that.
And W for wood.
Yes, you getting it, you getting it. Aha, my latest one. This was a 1.5 year project. And next week, I'm going to order a whole bunch. So, this is what the barn looked like on March 28th of this year. And the old porch had been ripped off and the new one was kind of recognizable as a porch, maybe. I went there every single day to try to understand it. And like day after day, I think, no, it's still a mystery. I have no idea what that is. And then when I got to this day, I thought, okay, I'm getting the picture. So, and you asked me about photography. I started using photography during this project when it got, number one, it got too cold to be outside going. And if anyone was up high in the rafters, I didn't want to distract them. So, and then I just kept on using photographs. And then, so I taught myself to use photographs, and then I taught myself to use photographs from other people, like Janet. So
And your neighbor.
my neighbor and John, and so I was in California actually during that bad January, and I was still painting the barn. This was the very beginning. This, you know, it was a wood chipper. Some trees got chopped down almost immediately, so they had to chip them up, take them away. You can see the snow piles. And actually, I got his photograph, this image, on New Hampshire Chronicle, again, because I was on again. 2020, they were trying to think what to do. Who can we, you know, contact who might be still out there, who might have gone again. So I insisted that they put that on the TV show.
Oh, gosh.
So there's 113 pages, but I only chose 4. But we're gonna turn the lights on soon and you can go look and touch. All right, so this is the first 4. I just love the shape of these enormous things. I don't know when they were invented. Certainly didn't have them when I was a child. But you know, this cement is pumped through there.
That's La Valley.
Yeah, so this is they come, you know, you see them on the highway, they're spinning, so they won't set. And then this evidently has a pump in it to somehow get it from here. If anybody knows more than this, feel free to tell me. Okay.
We showed the book to a friend a couple of weeks ago, and there were some earlier drawings in the book of a similar setup, but it was only about half that size. And she was utterly fascinated by them. And I just lodged this out of my mind. Oh boy, wait till she sees this one. And sure enough.
I think this is Paul Snow. Usually can tell by his curly hair. He is there with a nail gun.
One of his favorite tools.
And you know, some of these scenes, like I said, there's 113 images or more. Some of them are, it's more than that, but I didn't do about 10 of them. I didn't put about 10 of them in the book. So I was there almost every day. And I was so happy when I got and captured something with my camera. Yeah, it was only there for a very short while. I was there to witness this because, you know, they're covering up the floor with pieces of plywood. It's gonna be gone.
So is this gonna be another book on the,
Well,
on
it's
the
right
story
in
of
the
the
back to
barn?
you.
Oh, so it's the history of the barn?
It's the history of the building, the renovation of, we built a third building there. So that will become a year-round, is
Right.
already a year-round
Yeah.
performance space. It's on Main Street.
Yeah, oh, no, I know that. I just didn't know if, I was still on your A to Z New London, and I didn't realize you're doing a whole separate thing for the barn.
Yeah.
Great.
New London Barn Playhouse Campus.
Yes. So this is the third building on the campus. This one, I was across the street and I took a photo because that dog was not used to me yet, and I didn't want him to get up and start barking. And I couldn't mind him, so it's across the street.
Is that Ulster?
That is. This is James, so whoever James was.
Yeah,
Baxter? No.
Baxter, exactly right. Not Ulster.
No, you're right. So this was the day that, the last bit of the green. I'm so tired of that green. The green is plywood covered. Green paint on plywood. That's what it is. Okay, so I think this is my last image. Is it? No, it is not.
Oh, that's a good one.
Straw hat review. So now you see the
On the new porch.
the enlarged porch, which we didn't know we needed so much, but we did. Real hangout place. And this was before we got the signs back up and the chair, the bench there. It was finished enough.